so I decided to write a song.
Welcome to another episode of the Make Away Podcast. My name is Chuck, and I'm here with Philadelphia football aficionado, hard-working man, the businessman, Mr. Business, LLC, Saledeem Major, graduate of Temple University, graduate of Imhotep Charter High School. Board member for Focused Athletics. It's just not enough I can say about this guy, man. He's all about the development of young men, all about the development of his communities, his people, wanting to see the kids do better, wanting to see his people do better financially, emotionally, statistically, every in between. So very thankful to have you here today, Brother Sal. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you having me here. Again, I was supposed to have been to make this happen, but again, we here and we making it happen. So, let's chop it up and talk a little bit, man.
Mm-hmm. So, before we was rudely interrupted by the technology, I was about to ask you about, what got you into football? What got you involved with football originally?
So, initially getting involved with football was probably just being an inner city kid, being outside, playing around. I had a little attitude about myself, a little anger management, a little anger problem. So, friends, family, more so my older men in my life, their best I guess suggestion was from my mom was to put me into football.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know too much to see. I watched it on TV, but I didn't know what was going on. It was just a thing to do to kind of release my anger, kind of get some of that aggression out, also get some of that energy out, so I could bring my behind home and take a nap or something. So that's necessarily how I got introduced to football. I did bounce around to a few teams in Little League. Well, I did eventually found, I probably would say 2 homes, but more so a home in a neighborhood in kind of West Oak Lane, Northwesty.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm trying to think now because I've been trying to puzzle together all the little time sheets and trying to think all right, bet this guy was on this team and these guys was together here and these guys went to school together. Tell me about because obviously the layout of public league football was dramatically different than what it is now.
Sure.
Tell me about your biggest high school football memory that you had.
Truth, man. I think my biggest one was probably my senior year. My senior year playing against Bartram. It's crazy. My senior year playing against Bartram. As you stated, played for Imhotep. Started tight end for Imhotep, and I also started D end for Imhotep. Was pretty good at both, but I think one of our linebackers got suspended, and one of our other linebackers got hurt. And Coach Troy was my coach at that time.
Mm-hmm.
He was my coach at Imhotep, defense coordinator. He put me man, he came to me the day of the game, passed me a wristband in the middle of class. I think it was in the middle of class. Yeah, you got to play Mike linebacker today. I'm like, what? He don't worry about it. Your wristband will tell you everything to do on every play. I'm like, all right, bet. That game I had 15 tackles. 15 10 solos, 15 tackles, and I had 125 in receiving yards. So again, that was one of my biggest, I wouldn't say my coming out game, but that was one of my biggest high school career games. And after that was golden. I always knew Coach Troy, he's a good coach, but the best thing I admire about Coach Troy, even from when I was playing, he know how to use players to their ability, and he know how to put them in the right place to make plays. And clearly, that was a game that he just let me play. He let me play, and I went off. I got player of the week for, who was that, Ted Celerity and all types of stuff. So that was dope. After that, I ain't put my hand in the dirt at the end no more.
Yeah, no, man. Rest in peace to Ted, man.
Right.
It's crazy, man, But Coach Troy, real hardworking guy, man. He one of the I was telling him when I interviewed him not too long ago, he's one of the founding fathers of modern Philly football. I always tell people He was one of the people that started the MOTEP program. He was one of the people who started the Eni Eagles program because he was involved with the local church down there. And, you know, he gave a really good nugget that day when I was talking to him. And he said a lot of the programs in Philadelphia football really took off because it was just a bunch of local guys in that North Philly community that was competing against each other. And it was like almost like the kids was the chess pieces in the process where they was just competing against each other, pushing each other all the time and learning from each other. And then the kids was just the beneficiary of it because they're the ones that get the glory afterwards.
Facts. That's facts. Looking at it from that standpoint, that's definitely facts. Again, like you said, he definitely, I would say he's probably definitely up there as a founding father. He had a lot of talent come through him. He had a lot of talent that didn't even get the attention or eyes that they probably was supposed to because of probably off-field issues that, but him having a belief in him, he put a lot of, he had some players. Yeah, he was making some dogs.
Yeah, no, man. I always give Coach Troy all his credit, man. Obviously, I wasn't too big a fan of him when I was in high school. He was coaching at Del Valle at the time when I was playing against Del Valle. So it was we don't really care too much about Coach Troy business at that time. But he's a really good dude. I talk to him semi-regularly now.
That's good. That's good. That's my guy. That's definitely my guy, man. A lot of respect for him.
Yeah. So moving forward, you make it through your senior year. I believe you was either team MVP or public league MVP that year.
I don't know. No, I didn't. I got jerked for that.
Yeah.
I got jerked big time for that. It was cool, but yeah, I got jerked for that. But I mean, I showed that I belong. That was my biggest thing. And not even belong public league was more so
as a player college.
Yeah, it was more so citywide because during that time, public league was cool, but the Catholic league was
owning high school,
dominating. Catholic league was really dominating. When we played against in the all-pub game, they had probably over 17 Division I players that was going to big schools.
Damn.
Yeah, they was like that.
I mean, and I'll be honest with you, bro, I think where that kind of just goes is just like coaches at that time, it's almost like that it was talent in the pub, but I always have the conversation where coaches are going to dip into the pools that they're comfortable dipping into.
For sure. That's a fact.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kids who are probably really good football players at some of these schools, like, these, like Lincoln. I've seen a couple good kids at Lincoln. What's the other school? Washington had a couple good players every few years. But the thing is, like, unless you're consistently churning out that type of talent, which obviously like the MOTEPs are now, and the Gratzes were at least when I was playing, and they kind of are now. Martin Luther King has been putting out a few good kids in the past few years. You know what I mean? Like, until coaches can get a consistency of I know that when I go to Philadelphia, this is one of my stops. Like, I almost it's hard to blame them, bro, because there's like tens of thousands of high schools in the country.
That's a fact.
You know what I mean? It's when I go to Philadelphia, I got to stop at the Catholic schools and I got to stop at the county schools. The public schools, I don't know, man. The team GPAs are low, even though you don't know. There could be a kid there that's a 3.5 kid, but it's the implicit biases that kind of get in the way of a lot of kids recruiting.
That's a fact. And that's why I'm so happy of where Philadelphia football is now, because it wasn't that. Even like when I went to prep school, like I was in prep school with a bunch of people from Texas, Florida, and Georgia. They was looking like, man, I didn't even know y'all played football up there. I thought y'all was basketball. Like, y'all played football. I'm like, yeah. So again, to see how Philly football has transcended now, it's amazing. Like you probably wasn't even gonna get a look from a PSAC school unless you made it to states or close to states. They probably wasn't starting to come around until like city playoffs. Stuff like that. It wasn't no coaches you was catching that regular season.
Oh yeah, no. When I got to school, the coaches told me, they were like, yeah, like we recruit the Whippio, like we don't really recruit Philadelphia Public League. Like we recruit Pittsburgh area kids because we know good players come from Pittsburgh, good players come from Harrisburg. Like,
crazy.
They were like, we don't know enough about Philadelphia football because it's a basketball city. That's what they always say.
Great, man, it's crazy. Now to see it, like, especially MOTEP, because again, I took pride in. Humbly speaking, I was somebody at MOTEP. So everywhere I went, prep school, when I went to school, everybody knew, like, my school, I went to Imhotep. So now when they see Imhotep come across the rankings or they see him on it, people would shoot me a text like, man, ain't this your school? Or, dang, who this kid that going to your school that's going, I seen this kid. So, again, it's kind of, it's unbelievable where it's at. But, again, I really take pride in it because I knew from just myself that there was a lot of talent. There was a lot of hidden talent here. And again, starting to see it consistently on a big stage, not only in college, but even NFL level, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate it too, man, just because I'm one of those guys, like, I'm obsessed with the underdog stories. Like, I love seeing the kid who no one expects to make it. Like,
yeah,
sure. One of my first interviews was with Dre Mintz, and when I sat down with Dre, like, I was like, dang, man, like, the first thing when I was doing my research for the interview, I was like, bro, the fact that you tore your ACL 3 times and you're still playing professional football, like,
great.
I'm going to tip my hat to you, because regardless if you play another NFL snap, like, you made it farther than you were supposed to based on your circumstances.
No, that's a fact. That's a fact. And again, I think for a short term before things started over in Philly, it was almost everybody was kind of that underdog story coming out of Philadelphia as a football player.
Mm-hmm.
You were kind of like at the bottom not the bottom, but you was in the back of the recruiting list.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I mean, they got potential, but I mean, necessarily they probably lack the IQ versus these other programs, the other kids that's coming from these big time football states and programs or whatnot. But again, to see a transcendence, like I just keep saying, it's great to see. I love to see it.
Yeah, man. Like, it's just crazy, the concept of, like, I was in 7-on-7s going to workouts and workshops against, like, the Swifts and the Alamedis, and then you get to go watch the Eagles, and it's like, dang, but I remember 2015, these two was in the same backfield, and Swift was his backup. Now he's like slot receiver, and Swift is like he's gonna be a high paid running back this year. I don't know where he's going. I don't know who's gonna sign him, but
for sure,
whether he's banging back or not, like, he's going to be signing like 8-figure contract this year.
Yeah, he earned his check. He definitely earned his check.
Like, he was one of the best running backs in football this year. Like, I was very happy to see that, because, like, every time he walked into a different team, he was always walking into a situation where people were like, why is he going there? Like, that's not going to work out. He's at prep, and it's always 2 to 3 running backs in the room. He went to Georgia, and he's sitting behind Nick Chubb and Sonny Michel. Like, just think about that. Like, that's Nick Chubb and Sonny Michel, 2 first-round running backs, like,
crazy
in front of him when he got there, and still was able to, like, be like a freshman All-American. And them two both in the same running back room. Go to the league, and you go to the Detroit Lions, they're like, oh my God, his career is over. He went to the Lions. It's like, and it's just consistent, like, just good players and good people just being in God's favor all the time. And I just, I don't know. I just feel like I love seeing it, because it's like he was the number 1 running back in the country in high school. And it's crazy that he still had to have what looks like an underdog story when it shouldn't have had.
Nah, that's a fact. And just again, just to piggyback off of it, of course everybody see necessarily what he do on the field, but to be honest, that Swift got a crazy work ethic. He always had it. Even when I say I would say we got a pretty cool relationship. But before I had really knew him and knew who he was, like, St. Joe's practice at Temple.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I would see him working out, like, by himself, like, even before practice start or even after practice start. And then he still would just work out by himself, like, down at the Blackhawks field. So you could tell it shows that not only that, he's in God's favor, but hard work. When you put the work in, you get what you put in. Every time.
And that's just a shout out to him, man. Best of luck to that young man. If you end up back for the Eagles, man, the city will appreciate you. But if not, I just want to see the guys from the city getting paid.
Absolutely, every time.
I just want to see the guys from the city get paid
every time.
Like, obviously, the people that's fans of the teams, and I don't care if you're on the Carolina Panthers. I don't care if you in the XFL, wherever you're at, bro. I just want to see people that come from the similar scenarios that you're coming from, doing well and being successful. But less about him, more about Cousin Sal. So obviously, your career at Imhotep panned out. You had the opportunity to go to a number of, like, Division II schools, past these schools. You tell Tell me about what led you to go to prep school and your prep school experience.
I kind of my biggest thing why I didn't go to a lot of these Division II schools, more so these PSEC schools, because I had offers from every PSEC school in Pennsylvania. Every PSEC school was popping up popping up at my house and everything. But me knowing who I was, I knew I wasn't mature enough to stay that close to home. I knew I was going to put myself in a situation where as though the first time I felt uncomfortable or I felt homesick, I was coming back home. If I wasn't coming back home, I was going to have friends coming up to my school, which was going to be a distraction. And again, my mindset was football and to use football to necessarily get to where I wanted. And again, I just knew myself. I knew myself. I knew what environment I was coming from. I knew the relationships I had with my friends. I knew if I was going to even be home every weekend, or I was going to have friends up at my school every weekend. And that wasn't it wasn't good for my mindset right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't good. I had a vision. I wanted to use football as a tool to get where I wanted to be. So my best thing was to go away for school. And on top of that, I wanted to go Division I. Everybody wanted to go Division I. Everybody wanted to go Division I. So I got told, people was telling me like, yeah, you're not a Division I tight end, which ain't do nothing but, add fuel to my fire. I had schools coming to visit me. There was mid-major schools, but I didn't have the grades. So my biggest thing was like, that's all I need to get some film. I need to get some film, show I can compete, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get a Division I offer. Mm-hmm. So that's what prompted me to go to prep school. Mm-hmm. That was that journey, which was a crazy, crazy journey. I went to prep school. A lot of people know this story. A lot of people don't. I didn't tell it because sometimes the story sounds so crazy. It sounds like it's untrue. I went to a prep school called Union Christian Prep School in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. Have you seen the story? What's that fake prep school that you had on TV?
I know what you're talking about. My little brother, they actually wanted Eve to go there.
Yeah.
I was talking to the coach and everything. Like I was trying to decide if I wanted to put the $5,000 together and send them down there and pay the deposit. I swear to God.
Hey, whatever that prep school is basically just like that, but just a little bit of worse, a little worse. Prep school, Union Christian. Again, this is a prep school. The founder, the person that founded the school, what he did was, he was from Houston, Texas. What he did was he went to every major city all-star game and recruited. Mm-hmm. That's how he recruited his athlete. Anybody he seen that necessarily wasn't getting the offers that they wanted, he gave them an opportunity to come and play at this prep school. And he offered them scholarships. So necessarily he wasn't going to have to pay the full amount. I went to this prep school. Again, I got it's a couple people from Philly, which was pretty cool. Shout out my guy Mike G. Mike G actually played receiver for University City. I think it was probably a couple other people, but yeah, it was more so. It was dominant from Texas. He was from Texas, so it was probably half the team's from Texas. Half the team was a couple people from Florida, a couple people from Georgia, and other than those southern states. So I think that was the best position for me because I felt like I got a chance. I was going to get a chance to not only play, but showcase and match my skills up against these big-time dominant football states. Mm-hmm. I felt like if I was going to be able to play with them and against them, I was going to find a home school somewhere. Mm-hmm. And that's typically what happened. I went out there. There was a lot of trials and tribulations out there, and the prep school wound up shutting down. We wound up... Man, it was crazy. We wound up getting put in we wound up staying in a motel. Let me say that. We stayed in a motel because they, quote unquote, the school wasn't ready. It was still getting finished with renovations. Stayed in a motel for a month and a half. It was probably supposed to be our camp. This is where we stand at for camp. Probably stayed in there for like a month and a half. First red flag I was there was to see every room, every single bedroom was switched out, and they put in the person bought twin size mattress and put two people in these rooms. That was first, and the mattress on the floor. This is the first red sign. I'm like, oh yeah, this is crazy. But yeah, I'm here for football. I'm here to get some film so I can get up out of here. That was my biggest thing, my number one motivation. So again, things just transpired. It spiraled out of control, man. But again, I was getting looks. I was getting looks. My first look was from Southern University down in Louisiana. Really, really rich black culture. I watched them in Bayou Classics. I was big. The coach flew all the way up just to come talk to me.
While you was at the prep school.
While I was at the prep school, set in my face and everything, offered me. I'm like, oh, this is even though everything was falling apart, I'm like, oh, I got a little attention, a little motion. On top of that, we were playing against, mind you, we prep school, we fresh out of high school. We thinking we gonna be playing up a prep school. We actually playing Division III schools. Division III schools, these people, they got full weightlifting program. They established. Some of us not even 18 yet. Some of us just turned 18. And we playing these schools, but we actually playing good. Like we played against Mount Union. Mount Union is a Division III schools that won probably 27 of the last 27 of the last 30 national championships. But again, we performing. I'm a performer. I actually in the middle of the game had the coach walk across the field and offer me. That's how much I was really, sticking to my guns and doing what I was supposed to do. My biggest offer that I got while I was out there was Cincinnati. I was in Cincinnati. One of my assistant coaches, he actually went to Cincinnati and he actually took my film over there and he offered me. This is when what's LSU coach name? Ryan Kelly?
Ryan Kelly
was there. This is his last year there when they had those crazy receivers, that tall receiver.
Was it Muhammad? No,
it was Sutton Pike. I think Jason Kelsey and them was there.
Yeah.
They was there.
Yeah, they was still there at that time.
They was definitely still there.
2010, yeah, they was.
Yeah, they was definitely still there. That was my biggest offer. I was going to commit there. I thought it was it. That was where I was going. I got my film. I got my scores. I thought I was going there. Then come the bowl game, he left with the Notre Dame. They dropped all the offers. I'm like, oh man, so I'm back to square one. Prep school wound up shutting down. I wound up coming back home. This is the first time I battled with like real live depression. I didn't even know. I'm back home in Philly. Crazy.
Well, obviously that wasn't the end of the road though.
It wasn't, thankfully. But yeah, being back home in Philly, not necessarily knowing what was next. I kind of start, thankfully I was smart enough to not close every door of these smaller schools or whatnot. So I started, reaching back out to these smaller schools. I made the decision to myself, if I did go to a smaller school, I wanted to go somewhere where I felt like I belonged. Not only that, I felt like I was already a year removed from high school, so I wanted to play right away. So I had a friend that I played in the All-Star game with, the All-Pub game with, that went to Clark, Atlanta. Antoine Fowler, played linebacker at Northeast, standout linebacker at Northeast. He found I was home. A couple of people found I was home, which was crazy. Found I was home, hit me up. He like, man, I heard that you was home. Send me your film. I'm walking it down to the coach's office. He did that. I sent it to him. I called him like, man, that joint says there. Walked it down. Probably later that night, and coaches called me like, what's your schedule next week? We're trying to fly you down. That's what happened. Flew me down. Coach McNeil and PIP Coach McNeil.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he flew me down. New coach over there, and he coached at Savannah State. And he had one selling point. His only selling point was Shannon Sharp.
That's what the coaches do. London, that's what coaches do. They be like,
he called him and everything. After that, I was sold. I said, if you're gonna use me like you use him, I'm definitely coming. He was the office coordinator. I said, I'm coming. That's how I got there, which was good. It was great. It was the place I want to be. It was HBCU. I played right away. It was still a learning curve. Just because it was D2, it was still a learning curve. But again, I think I still possessed the athletic ability and everything to play right away. I had a pretty good IQ to kind of play. I kind of meshed with everything. I was picking up on certain things. And So my first collegiate game, first route, first catch, I scored.
I remember.
First catch and everything, I scored. So that was kind of like the coming out for me. Unfortunately, things ain't shake out as far as coaches there because we wasn't able to win. Wasn't able to get the right guys in there to help us win. So I got to a point where, and it was some influence as well, some coaches influence, some assistant coaches as well. It was like, you need to get out of here. It was straight like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard, and it was like, man, I understand everything you got going on. You got all your friends there, everybody you came in with, but you don't belong here. It was just black and white. I'm like, hey, all right, let me go ahead and get my transfer papers. What made it better was my coaches wound up getting fired. Once coaches got fired, I was like, yeah, I think it's definitely time to go. And that's basically how I made it up to Temple. I'm like, I felt that I was more mature enough to be home, to, be able to do what I needed to do. At this point, my grades was cool. It was all about it was business. Business was football in school. So that's how I made it back home. Long story short, that's how I made it back home, back to Philly at Temple.
Looking back at your Clark Atlanta career, do you feel like you got the most out of your playing experience there? Like, do you feel like you left any stones unturned, or looking back at your Temple career, like, do you feel like it was the right decision to make at the time?
Man, it's crazy. I mean, I feel like every decision was right for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was points of times where I was doubting it, but at the same time, I felt like that was the path for me. No matter how it shook out, I just went with it. I bet on myself, like I bet on myself when I went to prep school, and I went with it. So there was a lot of different experience. There was a lot of different experience at Clark, but it made me appreciate a lot of stuff when I got to Temple. Like going from a Division II HBCU to a Division I, man, I couldn't believe it. It was like night and day. And again, I told you I had coaches that was there. Like, man, it's not really a football. You really haven't experienced a college football experience yet. And again, that's why I said different. It's just different paths for different people, and it just made me really appreciate. I felt like when I got to Temple, and I got to tell a lot of people don't know this. I got to Temple. I was a walk-on.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know this. I was spoiled. I was spoiled. Everything, so many resources, so much, just basically handed to you. I'm like, I was just washing my own stuff and, buying my own little paraphernalia and different cleats and gloves and stuff. Whereas though now I could just go to the equipment room like, hey, can I get this? Or my gloves messed up, or my visor scratched up, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it made me appreciate so much night and day, even to the classrooms. Like I told people, I don't know how people go to Division I program and fail. It's hard. You have to really try to fail at Division I program. Clark Atlanta, I had to put me being mature, I had to put myself on my own study schedule. It was so much time that you have on your hands at Division II school like that. So I my whole thing was, at least I used to make myself go to the library at least 2 hours, even if I don't do nothing. Even if I just sit around and joke with people. As long as I go to the library, I'm going to eventually do some kind of work. I'm going to see a classmate in there. Something is going to influence me, but that was just my mindset to force me to stay on top of my books. That's just how I was operating. As far as when I got to Temple, I didn't necessarily I had a tutor. Even if I didn't want to, I had a tutor for every class. And I was strategically picking my tutors. I made sure I picked tutors that took that actual class and that professor, so they knew exactly how these lesson plans was going to go, what to expect.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like that's like one of the most important parts of college. I know when I got to school, like every single class, like, shout out to Dave, and they took good care of us with that aspect. Like when we got to school, every single class, that's a 100 or 200 level class, every single one had a tutor that had that class with that professor and passed with an A or above every single time for every single class. So, and the professor usually would be like, let's say, I don't know, Sal was a communication major and he would have passed Comm 105 with an A. And the teacher loved how Sal was in class, whatever have you. It was coming to Sal at the end of the semester like, hey, I got a position on the payroll next year. It's like Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 to 8. Can you be the tutor for my class? I'll pay you. And that's how it was. So, like, the teacher was able to handpick their tutor for the class before the semester even started. And that's how we was able, like, shout out to my accountant tutor, Brooke. Brooke, I don't got you on no social media, but if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have a college degree. Because I remember the first time I took accountant 110, it was probably one of the hardest classes I ever took because I genuinely just couldn't understand it, bro. All of the assets, liabilities, all of the different words, it was just so new to me at the time because I never had to learn that stuff before. You know what I mean? So it was just so new to me so fast. But she did such a good job. She almost was better than a teacher explaining it. I'm telling you. Like, I got a 99 on my final. Like,
That's crazy.
I'm never gonna forget her, bro. Me and my man G, we always talk about it, man. Brick got us to accounting, man. And it's not like she was one of those tutors that did your work for you. She really like taught you, like you learned at her tutoring sessions.
Yeah, that's great. See, it wasn't like that at Clark. Again, thankfully I did have other upperclassmen. They kind of did put me on game. I had some good. The culture is different. It's so different because it's like, all right, at Clark, it was like, this is necessarily, mind you, Clark Atlanta is in Atlanta, the city of Atlanta. So it's a lot of distractions, a bunch of distractions. So it was so many things that you necessarily got to get put onto. As far as the culture of football, it hasn't been good there for so long. So it's but so much that you're gonna, go through as far as becoming of the culture of football. You were just gonna kind of be somebody and outwork everybody and just be that man there. Or you just gonna fall in line and just be there and be somebody that's just down there losing every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, in the classroom though, I had upperclassmen that was necessarily like, man, which they actually, you know what? They didn't put me on because I wasn't really talking. So my first year, in which people was looking at me crazy, I was taking 18. My first semester, I was taking 18 credit hours. Didn't know all morning classes. Mm-hmm. Didn't know. Nobody said nothing until I went to. This is how crazy. This is how crazy they didn't overlook things until midterms came and I had to turn in my midterm grades. My coach looked at me like, well, why are you taking all these classes? Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, they told me this is what you do so I could be on place to graduate in 4 years. Don't you take 18 hours every semester? This is what they told me. We ain't had it ain't no sports advisors. You go to the regular student advisor and they ask you what your major and they give you a little plan to plan out your courses or whatnot. But after that semester, I kind of got acclimated with everybody and, people just put me on game with what necessary professors to take, who's going to actually teach you, who you're going to be able to get relationships with, where you go to their office and necessarily talk. And that's necessarily how I was setting myself up. I was able to make relationships with people to override classes, to get in classes, to get in and have relationships with these professors. Whereas though, if I needed a little extra help outside of class, especially during the season where sometimes I was going to miss class, it was always willing. The office was always open. They was willing to either help me or point me to someone in the class that was doing good to assist me.
Perfect example of that. Rest in peace to one of my favorite, not just professors, my favorite teachers that I ever had in my life. Her name is Dr. Traster. Fun fact, that was actually my tight ends coach at the time. That was his mom. She was a teacher at the school.
Wow.
Because he was a player at the school. He was a local kid from the area, graduated from the local high school, went to the local college. His mom was a professor at the school for years and years and years. So and he graduated and, tried his luck, traveled around. His coaching experience ended up bringing him back there. So he was my coach at the time. Shout out to my man, Coach Traster. His mom, Dr. Traster, Kathy Traster, she was our college wellness class professor, health and PE.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you, when I walked into that classroom for the first time, I'd never had another teacher in life, not even just a professor, a teacher that was just so genuinely happy to be at work. And I think that's what really made me not just me, like just everybody in the classroom just love her class, bro. Like we used to go into class every week, like nobody missed Dr. Trace to class. When we in there, like if she's giving out work, like there's no question. Like you're trying. Like she was one of those professors that like you wanted to get an A to make her happy.
Right.
She was like every Friday, she's like, yeah, good luck, boys. This, that, and the third. What do you got this week? It doesn't matter. Like she was one of those professors that like she just like she loved us. She loved her job. She loved the kids. You would go to her office because you got a test coming up, or you got to get like a progress report signed or whatever. She got a big bowl of candy on her desk. Her door is always open. Whether like you know what I mean. Like it was just a genuinely great person, and I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like. Obviously, like, being as though you a kid when you're in school, like, you got a couple teachers that get old that pass away. But that was one of the ones that, like, that was the first teacher that actually, like, damn, like, I felt that one. You know what I mean? Because it's like, she was so good to us, man.
Right.
She was so good to us. Shout out to Dr. Trace there, man. Hopefully, hopefully she got her bowl of candy for the young boys in heaven, man. She used to do us right, man.
That's love.
But that just goes to show, like I said, man, I really feel like if it's one thing that college football did, all of it was just like, it's just like coaches kind of are now treating all levels of football like very professionally. You know what I mean? Like even on the Division III level, like you watching some of these kids now, like when these coaches is recruiting, the visits is like full-on photo shoots and all of that, like how the Division I schools do. And I really feel like a lot of the coaches is trying to make sure that like the kids that is going to these schools is taking pride in the school that they go to now. Because like now, like this is about 10 years later from when you started college. 10, almost 13. Dang.
Yeah, for sure.
Couple years. Feel me? But
I'm an old head.
But it just goes to show, man, like football came a long way because when let's just say Division III football per se. When it first got invented, it was, I don't know if a lot of people know, but Division III football was made to just be an extracurricular activity for the kids at that school. Like that's why they can't give out academic scholarships, athletic scholarships. It's not because they don't got the money or they never had the money or the school cost too much. No, it's just they felt when Division III sports were created was the private schools that didn't have sports, they only had clubs. And the football, basketball, baseball, they're like, all right, y'all can have football clubs, but we're going to let y'all compete in the NCAA level. When Division III schools joined, and they said, we're not going to let y'all have athletic scholarships because we want the kids to come here for the academic prowess of the school.
Yeah.
And if they playing football, that's a bonus. But obviously, coaches, started going to Division III schools, and passionate coaches wanted to win, so they started bringing good kids in. But they had to find ways to get kids in with no scholarship money, and they still do. But it's just like now they try to make sure that everything else besides the scholarship is there. Like they try to make sure the kids have nice jerseys, fields be nice, like his programs that are perennial winners, like. If you go to that, I think it's North Central Chicago, they don't lose, bro.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot.
Now Unions and all of those.
Whitewater.
Yeah, Wisconsin, Whitewater, Del Valle. Shout out to Coach Grego Del Valle that just took the job at Westchester. Like there's a lot of coaches that's like that's like at the Division III level, but refuse to treat their program like a Division III.
Absolutely.
And that's what's happening at the Division II level now. So it's just like it's crazy that like like I went to school 5-6 years after you did, and like I'm like almost proud to say like my experience was like at least academically and all of the support wise and all of that stuff, it was dramatically different because like the school, the coaches, everybody took a lot of pride in what they was doing, and they really wanted to make sure that like we had like a full weight program, we had a full off-season program. Like we would go home for winter break, we'd get a binder sent back with us. Yeah, like our coaches, like win, lose, or draw, like the dynamic of football is different. And I feel like that's why now, like it not only is like Division II guys going to the league and making 53-man rosters, but like like a lot of Division II guys, Division III guys, when they going into these transfer portals now, they getting respect, man. They getting picked up in big schools, and not only getting picked up, but they performing when they get there. Yeah, like shout out to Tyson Beeger that was on the Chicago Bears this year. He did a hell of a job from Shepherd University. And that kind of going to bring us to our next topic. When you got to Temple University, obviously you got there when Matt Rule was at the peak of his college career before he left to go to Baylor and go to the league. Tell me a little about your experience playing in that team. I know there's a lot of guys, like in regards to the American Conference to this day, like those guys from that Temple team specifically that are in the league now are probably like some of the longest tenured group of 5 guys in the league now. You got PJ Walker, still, I think he was just on the Browns most recently. I don't know if he's still on the Browns. Still on the Browns. You got Tyler Matakevich, really good ball player. I remember he was him, Matt Ioannidis.
Yeah.
You got come on, man. I know my history, man. What's the guy named? This is left tackle. Deion Dawkins. All of them dudes, man. They was at the Temple camps when I was like in high school trying to get recruited by Temple. So, I always give my shout out to those guys because I remember when I was at that Temple camp, man, I was hungry, bro, and it was Sharif Finch, all of them dudes was all in that room. And I remember, man, they was all in that room, and it was me, my man, Casey, Charlie, and we was getting after it on one-on-ones. It was getting bad for the old linemen in there, dog. Like, I'm talking about, it was to the point, that was when I first met Casey. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
Like, the first time I ever met Casey was at the senior showcase at Temple Camp, man.
Oh, nice.
And it was one of them jobs where it was like, yo, bro, what move you about to do next? Hey, bro, honestly, bro, I just beat him with the spin move, bro. We might as well do it too. And we was really getting off on them, bro. Like, shout out to Casey, man. Like, out of all of us that was there, I think Charlie was getting recruited, but he never got the offer that day. But Casey, he had the God-given ability. He was a running back too at the same time as playing the defensive end. So they. We all ran our 40s. I ran a 4.8. Charlie, he was a little bigger than me. Charlie might have ran close to a 5-something. Casey ran like a 4.4, 4.5. So that's what got Casey in the door there.
Right.
Yeah, but, man, if it wasn't for the 40 time, man, I was giving out sports at that camp. It was getting bad. Because they, like, at the Temple camp, the O-line and D-line is in the indoor facility.
Yeah.
Keep us cool. They had the 3 groups. They got the... I ain't ashamed to say now, they got the group on the far left that they just donated their $50. Ain't no coaches watching them. There's the middle group that like the D1 AA's and the D2 coaches and some Temple players watching them.
Yeah.
And then it's the guys that Temple brought for free that they actually want to see them play.
Yeah.
And me and Casey and JT that went to Imhotep. I talked about him not too long ago. A couple of us, we was at the middle group, and I remember you got the players in the back. Sharif Finch was back there. Matt Ioannidis back there, and they was taking side bets. He was like, yo, whoever 99 in a white jersey going against, I got my money on him. And I'm like, hard bet, man. Just break me off afterwards, you feel me? And then after a couple reps, like, Matt kind of walked me over, and he snuck me over to the group with the guys that Temple brought in to compete with, and I still wasn't losing over there, but it was like, I always thank him for that because that was the day when I met my high school, my soon-to-be college D-line coach, Kevin Smith, who... Like, that was the first day I ever met Coach Smith, and, he just talked to over 50 coaches since then, and that was always, like, the first coach number I ever had saved that ever wanted me, And it was because I went to that Temple camp, and I was giving out some...
I was mad Ioannidis, man.
Yeah, he was nice, too. Is he still in the league? I remember he was on the Commanders. Like,
he was on... I'm not sure. I haven't checked lately, but he was definitely still getting a little check from somewhere.
Yeah, no, he was in the league for a minute, but Tyler Matakevich, obviously, he was like one of the best players at Temple. Deion Dawkins has probably made $100 million by now.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So, a lot of good players on that team. Tell me about your experience playing with them, competing with them.
Man, I'm going to say that was a different point in my life. Again, that was definitely a culture shock. Coming from Clark to Temple was a culture shock. I actually came in, I believe that was Matt Rule's first head coaching job. So, a lot of pressure on him. He had kind of a big agenda in front of him as far as turning the program around. Program kind of fell off a little bit since Al Golden was there. So he was all in. And I think that was kind of like our team model, all in. So it was it was some real long days, long nights. But again, as far as the culture that we was able to create there, man, it was crazy. It was like no other, and that's why I still have a tight bond with a lot of my teammates till this day. Like we got group chat with probably like 15 of us still in there, and we talk here and there or whatnot. But again, it was different because the way we was conditioned and practicing and working. We thought this is what they was doing everywhere. Like, this is just how it was. And, like, just the day-to-day, like, practice was crazy. Every practice was harder than the games, without a doubt. Practice was harder than the games. like competing against, like you said, my igniters, Tyler Medikevich, Tavon Young, Sean Champ, like competing in Hassan Reddick, competing against these guys on a day to day, like
it was always forget about 7, man.
it's crazy. It was crazy. Like it was really like some back and forth, or defense be dominating one week, offense be on it. It was real crazy, but at the same time, like that, it became a real iron sharpening iron on a day-to-day basis. Everybody was always, you was never, your starting spot was never safe. Like you miss a practice, it might be over for you. Just like that, it might be over for you, because the next man was ready. Everybody was ready. Everybody was, was battle tested. A lot of people had that ability to earn coach's trust. So the coach really didn't never shy about putting people in certain situations without worry about them was going to be, it was just that environment, and it just came from, consistently putting in these crazy work days, crazy off season, again competing against one another, but also holding everybody accountable. I think that was one of the biggest things. We held everybody accountable to a point where it made you was going to shy away from the entire team if you wasn't on the same accord.
And that's how it's supposed to be. Tell me about, do you still have a relationship? Like, tell me about like the teammate on that team that you feel like you still have the strongest relationship with, or the person that you learned the most from while you were there. Either or. Pick.
I'll probably it's probably a couple. So I would probably say my man Kenny Harbor. Kenny Harbor, he played running back. He started running back for him. That was my guy. He was there. I think through. I want to say no, he wasn't there. He was there with Adazio. He came there from where Adazio was there, but he kind of was the person that he worked. He was a workhorse. Never playing, he did every starting running back on kickoff, starting running back on kickoff and kick return, and punt return and punting. It just says a lot about his character as a whole. Off the field, he always made sure. Like I said, I was a walk-on, so he always made sure I was straight. He would come into his crib, take a nap, or swipe me in the calf, stuff like that. I mean, our relationship to this day, like we still hang out to this day, has always been strong. Has always been my dog. He always brought me along, kind of give me the ropes or whatnot of just the Temple culture and everything involved. On the backside of that, me being from the city, it was kind of like we was washing each other's hands, because again, we made sure each other was cool. We wanted to go out or whatnot. I always know places to go out, or I knew places to go, or always have people to look over us to make sure nothing happens to nobody enough in that sense. So that was cool. And I think the other person that necessarily, a lot of people don't know this, like Hassan Reddick. Hassan, that's my man. Like, that's my guy. Like, everybody know he was a walk-on as well. So it was like everybody, sometimes, at the schools, when you walk-on, there's a lot of people walk-ons kind of stay in that, it's a tight-knit circle, because kind of know each other battles.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing was, with me and Haas, we wasn't just walk-ons, we were starting walk-ons. So it was people that wasn't even traveling on scholarship, and we actually traveling, playing a high amount of reps, and we still trying to get swipes to the calf. We still trying to, just figure it out. But like, it's crazy. I think this was going into my senior year. Haas had an apartment. Haas had an apartment, and he was paying his way to school. His full paying his way to school. I was commuting. From probably where my mom was living. I think she was living up Linwood Gardens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was commuting. But mind you, I'm coming down for summer workouts. Me and him had a work study job together on campus. Crazy. People probably will never believe we was actually installing hard drive.
Like that deep into his career, he was still like having to work steady job.
Yes, we had in the summer. My summer going into the senior year, me and him had a work study job.
What year was he at that time?
He was a junior.
I mean, by then he was already getting busy though. Like
Absolutely.
like what's going on? Like,
It was
'cause obviously I know there's a little bit of politics involved, but like
of course it was politics.
but like it's just like like because I kind of know his story. 'Cause I'm the bucket list one day I got to get him on here because I got a lot of questions to ask him. Obviously. But like Buddy went from like a corner and then the safety and the linebacker all the way to pass rusher. Like that's a long way to go, and then you still producing like
and still producing everywhere you get put. Nah, it was like that, and like I think that's how we kind of got a close bond because we had work study jobs, summer workouts. We had to come earlier than everybody and work out. It was just me and him. We had to do our conditioners, just us. So it wasn't no cheating, no conditioning. We had to do our lifts together, and then we had to go to a work study job, and then probably come back and watch film or do some extra.
mm-hmm.
But again, it was days like that. Instead of me having to go all the way back up Linwood Gardens, he was like, bro, just come stay at my crib and, stay at my crib if you don't feel like going home. Go get a blow-up mattress, set up shop at my crib. You ain't got to take that commute. We buckle down, get back to it the next day. Man, that was probably like the realest thing somebody did for me. That's how I think that, again, that's how we kind of created a crazy bond. And I'm like, man, even though he played the end, mind you, I playing tight end, so we competing against each other almost every single day. But at the same time, off the field, I'm like, man, that's his character goes a long way for him to do something like that, which was cool. It was again, like I said, it created a crazy bond, and that's how we still tight to this day.
Yeah, man. I'm a big fan of that Haason Reddick, always been. I just kind of look at his story, and I just remember like when I was watching the NFL Combine specifically that year, and it's like it's almost as if them guys like because he went to a small school that don't really do their own work, and it was like,
Sure.
oh man, this Haason Reddick, this Temple kid, he looks pretty good in the coverage drills. I wonder why, man. From what I see, he had a lot of tackles for loss. He was a defensive end, but because he already knew how to backpedal since high school with my boy. We always just read his bio on his page. I would have seen that already, bro. Like I don't know, because like being like I was a defensive end when I was at that age, and it was one of those like I always loved like the underdog stories. Like I was already telling you, it's kind of like that's kind of why I do this now. Guys like him, like. It was so hard for like the NFL, like the people at the combine, the pro days, the All-Star games, and all. Like it was so much negative media because like I'm one of them guys now. Like I'm be on Twitter, and half my Twitter timeline is like senior bowl posts and pre-draft stuff, and it's crazy how they talk about some of these dudes like they're not like kids that's trying to put on for their families, whatever.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
That's their job, in which I learned through the process. Their job is to actually see every flaw in you.
Mm.
That's their job. Their job is to see every flaw in you and to point it out.
And to publicize it.
Because they want to emphasize on any negative scrutiny that come over you in case you are selected. And if you don't do good, they can say, I told you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pointing this out when they was going through the recruiting process.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, man. Tell me about your experience now. Tell me about Major Biz LLC. Tell me about what you do in the community now. Tell me about what the business is, what you do, and how you've been able to not only be able to provide for yourself, but also help your community.
Absolutely, man. I'm happy that you asked that because that's something that I definitely take pride in now for life after football. I appreciate everything that football has given me. One of my coaches, Coach McNeil, he always said, you be good to football, football be good to you. And football was great to me as far as going different places, meeting different people, experience different things, new experience. And again, just transcending my life at the football as far as becoming a serious entrepreneur. That was kind of always my plan, though, even outside of football. Everybody got their pipe dream of making the league. That was necessarily my dream of making the league, but at the same time, it was my shortcut. It was my financial shortcut to do exactly what I wanted to do, which was own multiple business and have and generate income every which way I could. So that's necessarily how I got into it. I was always a numbers person. Be honest, my numbers came from math. My number addiction came from math, and it kind of evolved from math into gambling. I'm a gambling person. I love to play cards. I love to shoot dice. It's always different numbers, probabilities. Everything involves that, and that's how I kind of got into the finance world. That's thing of again, learning at Imhotep. I wasn't necessarily a school person, but I know I wanted to play football, so I had to find something to motivate me in school so I can continue to play football. And it was numbers, it was math, it was accounting, stuff like that. So I kind of took that path and continued to follow it. And that's how I got into accounting, where I got kind of obsessed with financial literacy, because it was always that stigma in the back of my mind, like, why isn't this emphasized and talked about more? Why isn't this taught more in school? So I felt like it was being hidden for a reason. So I just set my mind to really try to figure out necessarily why is this being hidden and what information can I retain to help me, not only transcend myself, but also the people around me and my community. That's necessarily how I got into major business consulting services, which is any and all things finance, public, personal and business, from taxes to bookkeeping to just a list of account needs. And I've been able to obtain a lot of knowledge to, not only just help myself, but also help my peers and potential clients and whatnot. And it just learning experience. I just kind of conditioned myself to always have different sources of income, and that's how I kind of got into, reinvesting my money into other things to make money. So I got into vending machines, which is my company, Vending Bros LLC, and that's how I got into doing foldable rental companies, which is Flicks and Flashing foldable rentals, which was kind of a last minute idea that I came across during the pandemic, but I seen it was very lucrative. It didn't have a lot of overhead, and I seen that just me running numbers. I seen the turnover it would bring, which was good. It was very attractive and whatnot. So that's necessarily how I got into those spaces. Again, of course, just experience from being an athlete kind of definitely turned over on that, because it's just all about being consistent, having the type of discipline, and necessarily just being transparent with everybody, creating these relationships so people could trust you, not only with their finances, but with the services that you're going to provide them with.
I feel like it's extremely important. Not only is, being able to help your communities and be able to provide these resources to people, but just being someone that people can know that if they have these type of questions, they can know who to go to for it.
Fact.
It's extremely important. Fact. Because that's something that, you don't even have to put a price tag on.
Absolutely. Which I hate. Financial conversations are not had as much as they should be, and they're very uncomfortable with people. People are very uncomfortable with these conversations. I always try to have these conversations with my friends just to necessarily see where they at, because everybody joke, everybody bid, but at the end of the day, it's real life. I be trying to, how can I provide value? That's always been my biggest thing. I learned this from one of my boss. He told me he taught me, when you meet someone, don't necessarily see how they can help you. See how you can provide value to them. So therefore, anytime something occurs that falls in your aspect, you're going to be the first person that they think of. And so that's how you become someone, and that's how you build some real relationships with people.
Yeah, man, it's critical, man. Biggest thing I want to say is, I really appreciate it for just your consistent output to the community. Obviously,
Sure.
You've been involved with Focus Athletics. You've been involved with the Little League scene in the past few years.
For sure.
And it's the little things like that that's going to be able to push the communities forward, push the agenda forward for being able to develop these people over the course of time, because that's what it is, man.
That's exactly what it is. And shout out to Jack, man. Shout out to Jack. You got to get Jack on here, man. That's my guy, man. Got to get Jack on here. Focus has been a big, man, so big in my life, and not just my life, but other people's lives as well. So many big-time athletes in Philadelphia came through this program. That program has helped so many people, man. I kind of think it's undershadowed. It doesn't get the recognition that it deserves, but that's what makes Focus Athletics Focus Athletic. And I'm happy. It's honestly like that. There ain't no fluff around it. Guys either come, show up, put the work in, and get what they could get out of it,
or they don't.
Don't. Simple as that. You either take advantage of the opportunities that's there, or you don't.
Simple.
And I mean, it's night and day because you honestly see the people that actually did take advantage of it. So I'm definitely thankful for Jack and Focus Athletics because it's something that I wish I had growing up. I probably wouldn't even have to see prep school if I had Focus Athletics. I had SAT prep. Well, I would have had my scores. I would have been good. So on top of that, Jack even opened the door for my Little League team, Little League organization in the City Warriors, which is a growing organization that's really new. I think it's coming up on year 4, located in the King Sesson area. Got a lot of good athletes coming out of there. They got a handful of athletes that's actually doing some good things in high school football right now. Again, I've always been big on providing youth with opportunities that I wasn't given, because I know that can transcend them to another direction.
Yeah, man, it's extremely important, man. But hey, Sal, I really appreciate you for coming down here today, man. I feel like you gave the people a lot of gems, answered a lot of questions that people wanted to know. Everybody, make sure y'all like and comment and subscribe, and make sure y'all tapping into the previous interviews and the future interviews as well. I got a lot of great content, great guests coming on here. Just stay with me. Season 1 been really good. Season 2 is on the way. I'm very excited for a couple of the people that I got coming up. The thing with some of these interviews that I got in the works now is, you got the media requests and you got the agent conversations and all of that stuff. I didn't when you're dealing with friends and family, it's a little easier to just get somebody to come down to the studio. But if there's one thing you learn, man, the more of these interviews you do, it's a lot more paperwork. So I'm very thankful for where it's going. I'm very thankful for people like Sal, who was, hardworking people in his community and, a very good football player, is willing to come down here today and talk to you guys. So, like I said,
Absolutely.
Really appreciate you, bro.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you again. Like I said, again, this is big, man. Like I told you when you first started, like I was actually, every interview I watch, I smile ear to ear because I see the growth. I see where it's going, and this big, man. This is a great platform. I can't see it not being what you make it until. That's plain and simple. Like, I can't see it not being that big, as long as you stay consistent and you continue to put the work in.
Yeah, man, and that's what we're gonna do. Just like that, we're gonna leave it at that.
I couldn't tell you in person, so I decided to write a song.